stand beside me. We're better as a unit. Ain't enough bullets in a gun to hit us all.
All right, everybody, we appreciate all of y'all for coming out. We are now about to film our episode. So to give you guys some context, it will be me, Emmanuel, who is the co-host of the Code Switch podcast. Darshell will be our moderator, and then DJ Hale, as all of you know, very involved in the community. She will also be a part of our episode. So sit back. You guys can still continue to talk quietly. Get drinks, get food. This is for y'all. But we'll be doing our episode as that is going on. Watch out for the cord back there. Just make sure we don't want anybody to trip as you're walking. So please just be conscious of that. Thank you.
All right, so first off, we want to just thank you all for coming out. It is such an honor to have you all here during this holiday season to celebrate season 1 grand finale of the Code Switch podcast. Give it up. So I am Darshell Sanderfer, and I have the honor of being the panel moderator today. I am a speech and language pathologist by the day and a filmmaker by night. So I direct and I write, and apparently I interview as well. So we're going to introduce all of the wonderful panelists. We have DJ Hale, also known as Hale Morissette. Some people just call her Hale. She's an amazing DJ, as you've seen and heard. She's a walking crossover episode. She's spent years on the front lines of mental health, turning crisis into clarity by day, organizing communities in the evening, and spinning healing vibrations by night. She's a powerhouse advocate, a social worker who doesn't just talk policy, she designs it, organizes it, and sometimes DJs the block party that gets the folks to show up for it. From launching wellness ventures to building civic engagement programs, Hale is always somewhere between saving the world and cueing the next track. Give it up for DJ Hale. And I would like to co-sign. She does get out here and she's about the business. She has won Social Worker of the Year for the entire state of Florida. I think that is amazing. We have such a jewel here in the community, so thank you. Next we have Trevor, who, let's see. Trevor, go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, so Trevor Evans. So I work in the software engineering industry. I have over a decade of experience. Most recently, I've been an engineering manager at 2 different companies, running multiple teams of onshore and offshore resources. So happy to be shooting this episode. Happy to be with this wonderful panel.
I would also like to add that he has over 10 years of industry experience and has spent the last 3 or more years as an engineering manager for different companies. He graduated cum laude from Troy University with a bachelor's in science computer. He managed a team of software engineers that delivered an automated credit line maintenance system for fueled card line of businesses, reducing fraud charge-offs by $10 million in its first year. Give him a round of applause. He's my good friend-in-law because he and his wife and I are really good friends, so he's my friend-in-law.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have the one and only Hollywood, also known as Mr. Emmanuel Bucky. Buckley. So Emmanuel is an engineering manager, technologist, and co-creator of the Code Switch podcast. He is recognized for building and leading high-performing engineering teams, leading modernization initiatives, and architecting scalable, resilient systems across large enterprise platforms. As a champion for diversity, authenticity, and transparency in tech, he uses Code Switch podcast to fuel technical insight with culture, leadership, and lived experience to amplify voices and inspiring professionals across industry. Ladies and gentlemen, Emmanuel Hollywood Buckley.
Hey, Darshell, real quick, can I interject there? I do want to add something onto that. So a lot of people don't know, and Hollywood hates when I bring this up, but I do have to mention it. Hollywood is actually my very good mentor. So when I first entered the industry, he was my manager years ago. We've been like this ever since, and he's kind of taught me the majority of what I know about the tech landscape, how to code, infrastructure, architecture. So I'm forever indebted to Hollywood and the knowledge that he gave me. He set me up for success, so I always want to call that out.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
So first and foremost, I would love to hear you guys explain, like, what made you decide to start the podcast? What fueled the desire to begin this podcast?
Yeah, so I can take that. So me and Trevor, we've been friends for a very long time, and we always talk about work, things that go on at work, all the issues we run into as like Black professionals and things like that, and we find ourselves venting towards each other often. And one thing that I recognize, especially going through some experiences in my recent or my past job, was that there are not a lot of spaces that we are in. And that we feel comfortable showing up as ourselves in. And we assume that there are a lot of other people like that as well. So we got together and decided, how do we create a space where we can show up as our authentic self, where we don't have to code switch all the time. We find ourselves, talking to people differently at work than we do outside of work, and it's kind of cathartic, the way that we're able to speak to each other, vent to each other, and it makes work and just life in general a lot more manageable. So what y'all know about Trev is, like, I've had a lot of ideas in the past, and everyone that I bring up to him is like, hey, let's go, let's do it, and that's the kind of person Trevor is. So came to him, we talked about it, and he's like, hey, let's go, let's do it. So that's how it came about.
Yeah, I wanna piggyback on that real quick, because I wanna talk about this event and you guys. And so to piggyback off what Hollywood just said, that was the purpose of the podcast. The purpose of this event is very similar. So clearly, you guys, I imagine the bulk of you live in Pensacola. When it comes to events like this, where you have DJ Hale spinning, like, those old school joints, you know what I'm saying, and a space where you come in, drink, eat food, you don't have to worry about, like, other people you're around being your authentic self, being around people that look and speak like you. That was one reason we did this, and we didn't want to put a number on it, right? That's one reason why we just made it free, because we just wanted our community to come out and show love. So I think that falls in line with kind of the idea of the podcast.
Awesome. So the next question I have is based on some research that I've seen, and of course, DJ Hale, you can chime in as well. When you think back on your experience in elementary school, middle school, high school, and even college, where do you think the educational system fails young Black men, to not just in behavioral things like that, but their approach to teaching young Black men? From what I've understand is there's quite a few PhDs out there who are Black men who say Black boys learn differently and they need different support. Not that they can't learn, but their minds are engineered a certain way. So when you think back at your educational experience, what ways could our community have supported you guys better?
Well, I'm not an education professional in behavior health, but, and I'm raising 2 black boys, which is great. But what I found, and I was really intentional, is actually starts really early. It starts really early on how we cater to our black boys when they are first entering school. I was really intentional about making sure that my children had black male teachers and mentors early. So much so that I have a 11-year-old right now that is experiencing his first white male teacher, and he does not listen to that poor man for nothing in the world. Oh my gosh, that man calls me constantly. But I'm serious, like, it's the reverse. But we start early when they don't have those that start off even in the school system. And it's pretty hard for black male teachers to get into the school system in the first place, I believe. So it's behaviorally, I wouldn't say that black children, that they're wired differently in their head, but culturally, right? We are taught in different ways than white children are taught, than, Asian American children may be taught. Everybody else, they all have a cultural difference in the way that they're taught. And that's not implemented in our schools unless we implement it ourselves, which is why, like I said, seriously, my children started off in a school that was black owned, black ran, and some of the teachers might have been their cousins, because I wanted to avoid that. And then when we start getting into talking about criminalizing behaviors, it just gets deeper. That's where we really start failing in elementary school. I could get into the statistics also of how just like our kids not having VPK early on and things like that, and all of the budget cuts that we have in the country that stops black children from even getting into those early childhood type of functions and places that they need to be to get them started, that they're already starting way behind. Like, those are the supports that need to be in place. And we can't just blame parents for not always having the access to those things, right? So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's from a professional point of view, but also as a mother raising black children. That's where it starts. It starts real early.
Yeah, I think you would have to choose. I don't try to be controversial here, but you have to choose like inclusivity or segregation, right? And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I know DEI has a lot of negative connotations to it these days for various reasons that I'm sure we all know about. But I think it kind of starts there. And so we have to start, and the reason why that's important is because we have to start looking at like intelligence in the black community as the standard and not the exception.
Absolutely.
So when I was growing up, I'll never forget, I was very quiet in school, and I'm still quiet to these days, but believe it or not, teacher would always be like, "Oh, Emmanuel, he's so smart, he's so smart, he's so smart." And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't smarter than anybody else in that school. I was ranked 33 in a class of like 120 people. So the problem is though, it was that I was quiet, I was obedient to their standard, and it became he's automatically intelligent. And I was the exception above the rule when it came to people who looked like me, versus the other side of the table, which is, they should be, right? Versus, they could be. So I think that DEI is very, very important in a lot of places, but definitely the education system as well.
Yeah, the last thing I'll put on that is it was interesting, Hale, hearing you talk about your son, because that's actually how I came up. So kindergarten through second grade, I had a black teacher, and I'll never forget in second grade, my teacher, Miss Alford, she would actually read the Bible to us, and she told us, she said, "Hey, I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I want to instill this in you guys and pay it forward. So down the road, you guys will pay it forward to the future generation." And it made such a difference on me growing up, right? Kind of starting early, seeing those black figures, right, as such a young child. And eventually, when I got to my first white teacher in third grade, it was a bit of a culture shock, but the fact that I had been kind of reined in early on, I kind of had that standard internally, right? So I was kind of proud of what I looked like and how I spoke and my people, right? And it really does stick with you. It really does.
Thank you all. That was a great response. So let's talk about entry-level tech. A lot of people, like myself, are considering career changes. I am a part of a field that was no longer considered to be professional, as we all have heard of, right? I'm just minding my business, living my life, and a news broadcast decides that what I do is not as important as professional. So, you know, my mind is going, okay, I gotta keep things rolling. What else should I do? Which direction should I take? And we've been hearing that, you know, AI is going to take over. Tech is the way. And considering what I do is more of a human thing, you really have to have a connection. I thought I'd never have to worry about it, but here we're facing it. So what are some things that people could look into if they're wanting to do a change?
Well, I'll tackle that first. So I think there's always a stereotype associated with tech that you have to go to college and get like a computer science degree, or not even necessarily a computer science, but like information systems or information technology, but some sort of like computer related degree. I don't align with that personally. Now, yes, I went to college, I got a degree in computer science, and it's worked out well for me, but I have also managed really exceptional software engineers that did not go to college, and they just got their foot into the door, and they were able to make a big impact. I would also say I've seen it on the other side where I've seen people that went to school for computer science, and you know, it didn't work out for them for any reason. So I think the first thing to note is that you don't necessarily have to go to college and get a degree in a computer specific curriculum. The second thing I think is being willing to learn. So I think the barrier to entry is constantly changing and it's constantly becoming more accessible, right? Especially with the introduction of AI tooling, code boot camps, open source projects. I think all of that stuff is available. It's accessible through the internet. So I think it's very important to just be willing to learn, constantly be kind of researching, seeing how you can get your hands on tech, see how you can get into programming and things like that. And AI makes that so much more accessible. And then the third thing I think is just having that tenacity, being willing to get your foot in the door. For the record, I got my degree in computer science. My very first job, I was doing data entry. So it wasn't like I graduated and I went on to like Amazon or Facebook. No, I was working at a low-paying job in Mobile, Alabama. So I don't want you guys to think that just because I had a computer science degree, it all worked out for me on day one. And I literally, I had to go off on HR a couple times because I wanted to get moved over to a project where they were coding, and they wouldn't move me over. And I had to go off a couple times, and Hollywood was there. He saw me kind of get pretty flustered. But the point I want to make there is, if you don't have that background, you can pick it up. And then it's just about getting your foot in the door, you know, getting in those spaces where maybe you're not as close to it, and then meeting those people and really just bulldozing your way through, because honestly, that's what I had to do. Hollywood, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I was there for those HR experiences that this man had. I'm telling you right now, you all would be fired. They were pretty tense. I think there are a few ways to you can take this. So, you know, you hear this thing called AI's taking jobs and things like that. And I would say that if you ever get any advice of people saying that AI will not take your job, I think that's terrible advice. But not to be pessimistic, right? I think to be optimistic about it is that AI is another tool. It's not a solution to things. And not to try to quote Maya Angelou, because I'll butcher the quote, but you know, the famous one where she talks about it's not really what you say, it's not really what you do, but people remember how you feel. And that's the one gap that AI, I don't think, will ever feel. And I feel like I can say that with my full chest, because I think by the time that's not true, I'll be dead and gone. So who cares? But I don't think AI can change that personal relationship, right? And so when you find jobs in areas where you can have customer relationships, people relationships, and build on top of that, I don't think AI will ever be able to replace that. And we talk about tech, and people like to pivot and want to pivot to tech, and tech is not really the silver bullet that it has been before. I think before it was, hey, I can go into tech, I can have this skill where, not everybody knows how to code and things like that, but it's less about coding now with AI and more about reviewing the work, making sure it's right. It's almost monitoring to an extent. So I would say, sure, yes, AI is coming. It's definitely going to reduce jobs. And I think that, we should look at it as an opportunity and be very optimistic of, hey, how do I now use this as leverage to get ahead personally? For example, and I'll end the tangent on this. Typically, when people try to start a business, one the first things that people do is, I need a logo, I need a website, before they ever created any like supply and demand. And it's a natural tendency. Like that's just something we do, especially if you haven't grown up in like around people who are business owners and things like. You've never been in that environment, and a lot of us as Black people, we don't have a lot of those experiences. It's a natural tendency. Hey, if I have this visual representation of what I plan on doing, then I can do it. And the problem with that is, in the past, websites cost money. Logos cost money, right? Like you ask me to build a website, I'm going to charge you a lot of money because it's a waste of my time, right? And that's true for a lot of engineering people. And so what people tend to do is that I'll go build this logo, I'll go build this website, and they've invested X amount of money into this before they ever create the supply. And by the time they hopefully create the supply, and most businesses fail, that's a statistic, now they're out of all this money, they're discouraged and things like that. But now with AI, my advice would be, number one, always create the supply before trying to create, the website and logo. But tendencies happen. Now you have AI that can do these logos and these websites cheaper. And the only reason why I'm bringing it up is, as an example, you get to fail faster, cheaper. So do that and use it as a tool, and hopefully you're creating supply where it's more about the customer experience than it is the product, or maybe people are your product. So that would be my general advice.
So let's say I woke up tomorrow and I said I wanted to get into tech. Talk about the foot in the door. I got a foot, what's the door?
There's so many doors to get into tech. I mean, you have just like cybersecurity, you have coding, you have all of those things. My advice would be, and me getting into tech, I think maybe 13 years ago is a lot different than today, and I kind of feel bad for a lot of people trying to get into tech now, because the barrier entry is fairly high, and it's almost artificial, not even like a true high barrier to entry. But if it were me, and if I were doing it today, the one thing I would do is I would start creating a portfolio for myself that I can go and I can share with my peers, share with my job or people I'm interviewing with, and say, hey, I can do these things, and I can speak to the things that I've done. Because again, you can go create a website today, but if you can explain how you got there, how you created it, right, then that's going to be very, very problematic. Right? They don't need people who can go and create websites or create technology necessarily. They need people who understand it and can explain it. And so that'd be my advice is, hey, build out your portfolio, go through, do the research, and it's going to take time. You're going to go through a lot of highs and lows with it. Even in my career, like I feel like I don't know anything certain days, and then some days I feel like I know everything. So it's those peaks and valleys.
Yeah, absolutely. Piggybacking, I agree with everything you just said. And piggybacking on that, like going back to my situation, I started out in data entry, right? So to Hollywood's point, there are so many different doors, right? I think sometimes we have this stereotype that, you're an engineer, you're working at like Facebook or Google or Microsoft, and there's so many more companies out there, and there's so many roles available to you. You can get in even like quality assurance. I know we've had our conversations about that, Hollywood, and I would not recommend you stay there, but even if that's just a way to get your foot in the door, coming in as QA or Scrum Master and then quickly trying to pivot saying, hey, you know, ultimately, I want to become an engineer. You know, at least you're now in the space with the people that do it. And now, to Hollywood's point, you can start building those relationships, because to his point, you know, as AI becomes more advanced, relationships are going to mean so much more. So I think building those relationships, maybe getting into a space like me where you were doing data entry, but you knew, hey, there's this project over there where there are actual engineers that I can learn from. And, you know, I had to have some uncomfortable conversations with some people, but eventually they moved me over there and they put me under Hollywood. And I went on to learn so much and be successful.
Awesome. So the next thing I want to do is I want to direct this question to you, DJ Hale. Okay. So you are a social worker. You work in the community. And when I think about, you know, the last 5 years, right, where we were going through COVID and people were isolated, there's a lot of talk about tech or different things not being good for people and their emotional development and things like that. Have you noticed the positives from, you know, community on the social media, on social media. Yeah. I was gonna say the internet, anyway, the internet and things like that. Have you noticed some positive things? Have you noticed some not so positive things where people have become too reliant on tech and not developing those social skills? And when DJ Hale, you know, finishes, I'd love to hear from you guys as well.
Yeah, so I get to see both sides of everything. One, because I work in operations and development spaces. So AI, being able to create a blueprint, automation, things like that, using that to start your outline, to get something started, that's gonna help the community, 100% on it, like, let's do that. A lot of social workers are using that now. But developing community and using AI and being reliant on just is actually almost giving people a brain rot, in a way, especially creative folks, right? As somebody who lives in the creative Afrofuturistic world, right? And then also needing to have these very tangible organizational things happening. If I rely on, well, let me just put everything together into this AI and just rely on that to create what my creativity stuff is gonna be, then it's taken away something from me. And we are not relying on talking to, so I have, if any of you personally know me, I go and I'm part of a lot of different friend groups. So I have my Black professionals that are maybe a little bit bougier, but then I got the Black professionals who are also like, baby, I'm from the East Side too, so we gonna go to Chases. And then I have my very, very professional friends that maybe didn't grow up like that, but we can go do some other things. So I jump. When you go to pulling back and only relying on one thing in a screen in front of you, you stop hopping around to all these different people who also help you elevate. I am not bragging when I tell y'all this. I'm part of a list that goes out every year that's called the Power List. And the Power List, you are defined by how many phone calls can you make to get something done in the city. I'm defined as being somebody who can make 3 to 5 phone calls within the city and get something done. I sit on the top 50 of that every year. I would not have that though if I didn't hop around and have connections with different people. And if I didn't continue every year to continue going to lunches with folks, showing up to different events with people, and not just relying on, let me get something to build me, what it is I want to do, how I want to compute my words in order to talk back to people on social media and just leave it there in that atmosphere. We have to be able to come face to face. Now, thinking about when we're talking about pandemic, right? And when we didn't have a chance to actually like sit on the couch together and talk, and we had to use Zoom, and people were suffering from like being able to just reach out and touch someone. Like, I'm a cuddle bug, so I'm cuddle with my friends. All my friends know I'm gonna cuddle with you if I need to. But not being able to have that, and then having to sit in a space where you needed to connect with people and stuff, we had to get creative, right? We had to get really creative and create spaces in order to still sustain and be a part of so many different things and to be able to network. So we did use Zoom for a really long time, and then eventually everybody was all Zoomed out. Everybody wanted to be outside together. And we didn't care how sick we would get. We needed to be around other people, even the introverts. Everybody was like, even if we're just holding silence together, and it is the one person that I'm holding silence with, I have to be next to somebody in a room with someone. That is what's important to what we have, and we have to use, like Hollywood said, we have to use AI and tech and everything like that as the tool that it is, and not as the vehicle to go talk to everybody else. Sorry, that's my spit.
And what I think about too is, we're gonna sidetrack, we're gonna go off on a deep end a little bit. I don't know if you all have seen, there's now robotic girlfriends available. Have y'all seen these like realistic looking women that, not you have to shift, robotic girlfriends. Now, they haven't made any males, but they just, you know, a lot of women, and their facial expressions look real. But guess what? They don't care how late you stay out. You ain't got to feed them. You don't have to buy them anything. Like, what do you guys think about that? Like, our world is headed in this direction.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna touch that. I've lived long enough to know trap questions. But no, I want to circle back to something Hale said real quick, and then I will say something about that. I don't have any like good advice. I don't have kids. I'm not married or anything like that. But I talk to my married friends and family, and so I have this older brother named Joseph. We were talking literally about 2 days ago, and he mentioned something that I didn't even think about when you talk about technology and the good things and the bad things about it. And I actually think that we over-index on the good things about technology, and we should really, really focus on some of the things that are not as good. And I'll just touch on one thing. He mentioned how he actually doesn't prefer his daughter to watch Reels because he feels like it shortens their attention span. And I didn't think about that. Like, nobody wants to watch full videos now, like 15-minute clips, because it's too long versus 30-second reels. They can go and kind of get all the information or as much information as they can within like 30 seconds or whatever. So I think that, again, not having kids, but I think we have to be intentional about, the things that we do see, call those things out and have that community where, they share those things. And so, if I ever have kids, first thing I'm thinking about or one of the first things I'm thinking about is, hey, you're probably not gonna be able to watch Reels, right? You probably won't even have a phone and things like that. But then going back to what you said about the robots and things like that, I don't know the numbers. I don't know the statistics. I mean, you have weird people out in the world, right, who have these like fetishes or whatever, who are into different things. I go back to my point earlier. I don't think AI will ever replace that human emotion or that human feel, right? We're all just too distinct, and AI plays on patterns. There's a version of AI that plays on patterns and of human behavior, but we don't all think the same. So there's no pattern you can go and say, hey, this is going to work for everybody. And that's true for everything, right? I didn't say anything like smart, right? Because nothing's ever 100%. But I do think kind of those situations, I don't really think that they're a threat. But I do think that, especially with developing minds, you have to be very, very conscious of kind of what they're exposed to and what they see, and you should be very intentional on controlling that.
Yeah, on a robotic girlfriends thing, like I can only imagine being with a robotic. I wouldn't enjoy that at all. Like, I'm glad Cole, she's feisty. She keeps me honest. I love that. But no, on the social aspect, I completely agree with what they're saying. I'll tell you guys this. when I was going through interview processes before AI advanced to what it is, one thing I would always say in my interviews is, oh, well, you know, I feel like I'm personable, I'm outgoing, and I feel like that's what makes me different from a lot of other engineers, because in our field, you'll see a lot of engineers are introverted. Like they just kind of like to stay to themselves, lock themselves in a room and code all night, which we love to do as well, but we also know how to get out, smile, shake hands, kiss babies, all that stuff. While I do think that AI and layoffs with these big companies has made the market, at least currently, a little more competitive, I agree with what they're saying in that that relational aspect is still golden, you know. And I've talked with different colleagues about how, you know, as AI continues to advance, having those soft skills, being able to build those relationships is going to be key. Because as we're seeing, as the workforce changes, as companies reduce, it's going to be those individuals that are either high performers or build relationships that I think will rise to the top.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm going to ask some more questions, but I want you all to start thinking about questions that you have as the audience for any of the panelists. So while we're talking, kind of listen in and think about what you might want to ask. But for the next question, I want to address something that you all said earlier that I think is very, very amazing. And I don't think we see it enough. I mean, we do see it, but I don't hear about it often. You giving props to Emmanuel for, you literally said, set you up for success. Yeah. Now, you often hear that when people are maybe, you know, a senior professional and a beginner, but you guys are very close in age, if not the same age. And so I love to hear that. Number one, you were willing to, you know, be that guiding light and that friend. And you were willing to be like, I know this guy, we're about the same age, but he's, you know, cool.
I'm gonna learn.
Right. Yeah. And you give him his props. I think that's awesome. Do you all, including you, Hale, do you experience a lot of uplifting within our community on the workforce? Do you think that, you know, there's enough of that, or do you think that there's still, unfortunately, the crab in the bucket mentality, you know, in the workforce, in community work, things like that?
So since I made the comment earlier, I'll kind of take this first and speak from my perspective. So in regards to the crab in the bucket mentality, I don't know if I can speak on that in regards to the software industry, because honestly, I haven't worked with a whole lot of Black professionals in the software industry, and I think that kind of calls out a different gap, which is like, how do we get more Black professionals into our industry? And that's the topic we could go into, and we certainly discuss it, or offline, whatever.
Definitely.
Yeah, but picking back up on kind of the mentorship piece that you called out in regards to me in Hollywood, I think it was a very unique situation. Number one, it was a situation where there were multiple Black professionals at a single place. So it wasn't just me in Hollywood. Like, there were probably, probably 5 to 7 other Black people at that company, and we were all like fairly young. And that was a very unique situation. Like, you don't see that often. So I would say that was the first thing. I think the second thing was you had 2 people that were willing to play their position, if that makes sense. So you talked about how we were close in age, but it was a situation where I didn't mind like taking that back seat and saying, yo, this dude is smart. I know if I just kind of fall back and listen to him and just kind of follow in behind him, things are going to work out. And they did. And I think it's important. Sometimes you just have to like play your position, you know what I'm saying, depending on what it is. Now, by no means am I saying kind of decrease your increase. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, when you see someone that's smart and they're trying to build you up, sometimes they might give you some constructive criticism, you know. I'll be honest, like Hollywood was definitely like that big brother figure, and sometimes it was tough love, sometimes it was like, man, you need to be, you know what I'm saying, going off on me or whatever. But it was so instrumental for me, and it really gave me thick skin, and I learned a lot. And to the point now where, I can go into rooms and have that thick skin and kind of give that same leadership to others.
I live in a interesting world. Okay, so I think that I'm uplifted a lot by other Black people all the time, especially in social work. We have our own kind of little. I feel like social workers, especially Black ones, we end up informally making our own little Black student union for ourselves sometimes. Like when we meet another Black social worker, we're like, yes, you see it, you get it. I'm diagnosing them too. So we may have kind of that, and I have never actually. I've never experienced negativity with folks that have come out of the professional credentialed social work world with me. That was other Black folks, right? Now when we look on the bigger scale, like the larger scale, when I start bringing in politics and nonprofit organization work, it gets a little harder because there are so many different people who have been raised with so many different values from what I've been raised with, right? Two very clear different examples. The way that I met all of y'all was Network of Black Professionals. We had newly started, we started formalizing an organization, right? We may have stopped hanging out a lot, but it was always in an essence of power of like lifting each other up no matter what industry we worked in. I'm a big crybaby sometimes. Don't forget I'm from the East Side, play out there. But I could be a big crybaby. If I had an event or something and Hollywood and Trev walk through the door, they will tell you in a heartbeat, I will start crying and being like, I am so happy y'all are here to support me, because it meant the world to me, especially because they wasn't really like living in Pensacola at the time either. So I knew people had to travel, like that type of support from outside people. That is a whole different, like, Black folks, we do support each other, and people do not show it on the big screen all the time, and that's okay. We really aren't as many crabs in a bucket as people want to say. Now, folks who are living in a world where they have to get resources and they have to fight for their resources, yes, that's what they're showing. They're showing people in struggle and survival mode. But it is so many of us who are not just in survival mode, and I get to experience that. Now, others who haven't been raised with values, I will give you a prime example of, I had to walk away from a place recently. I just told Hollywood the whole story. But what it came down to was I was hired to do a job, to elevate a profile, to put pieces in place for someone, to get something up and running and like run with it. Like, let's really do something. And they did not, I do not believe that they appreciated the fact that I was associated so heavily with what they wanted to be their brand. But I was put in a position to do it. And these are other Black people. These are other, not that it really matters, but these are other queer people that are in my community with me, right? So I put them on a different pedestal, and I shouldn't have in the first place. In a professional standard. It should have just been a professional relationship instead of trying to make them familial. And so sometimes we do go through those things and we have to walk away, and it is okay to do that and not harvest, oh man, it was other Black folks and I feel like I really did them dirty by just walking away from something that didn't serve my community anymore. It wasn't just serving me, it didn't serve my community for me to still be there. So I've experienced it, but the way that we come back from things like that, right, is that we fall deeper into being in these relationships and friend groups with people and other Black folks that remind us that there is still so much love within us doing liberating work. Because that's what we're doing all the time when we're loving on each other and when we're helping each other grow and get into our mission, is that's liberation work. And sometimes we don't realize it, but it's life or death out here in these streets when we do what we do. And it's just by the connections that we're making with each other. When I ran my last political campaign, I knew who I could rely on to make my calls to get some money because I had more advertising needs. And I want to thank y'all for coming. Y'all came in the clutch. I need y'all to know that. These two, Nicole, folks came in clutch for me. And it was because we all had the same vision of just moving forward with our people and what I believe this podcast is all about. So yeah, we may experience those negative things, but at the end of the day, the big picture is that it's more of us that support each other than most people know. It is, and we can literally change a whole lot.
I love that.
Agreed. I experienced both sides of it, right? And I think it's more about what you choose to focus on, right? I could focus on this IT group that's supposed to be for like black people, where it's full of people who gatekeep information and don't want people to get in, or look at people as opportunities rather than resources, kind of like we were talking about the other day. I could focus on the empty chairs and hearing things like that, but I think if you literally look at the people who were up here, right? Cole is over there. I know she's not in the video, but I think we came to them like last minute, probably a month ago, honestly, and say, hey, can you help us put on this event? And all we got was yes, yes, yes. I mean, there was not a no in sight. There was not a, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this or anything like that. No negativity. Like I told you, I went to Trev and said, hey, let's do this thing. Yes, let's do it. So I agree with Hale. I think there is a lot more that support each other than don't. I think that if you're a person of faith, Christianity is, the essence of Christianity is like sacrifice, right? I think the essence of the black struggle has been sacrifice. You talk about people who have given up their lives, their careers, I mean, everything for a future that they likely will never see, right? And I think that it's even more important for us these days, especially in the age of information, the age of disinformation, whatever age you want to call it, to really start highlighting the positivities and pushing that out so that we're pushing that next generation forward, even though, we may never see what that next 100 years looks like, right? But we are pushing on that essence of sacrifice. It's about sacrifice. Like, we all sacrifice time to be here. You all sacrifice time out of your day to be here, and it's much appreciated. So I think if we just focus on the positivity of it and understand that, hey, our sacrifice builds futures. So.
Yeah, one other thing I want to piggyback on that. So Hollywood brought up a good point, which is very true. We came to Hale, you, Darshell, Cole at the last second, like, hey, can y'all help us do this? And I mean, look where it got us. So very thankful, and you put us on with Aaron. So thank you for that. But even people that weren't even part of organizing were like, hey, if you need me, call me. Calvo hit me. Yo, you need something? I got you. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that positivity and just everybody lifting each other up.
Awesome. So speaking of community, where are the gaps in our community in regards to tech?
That's good.
I think there are a lot of gaps, but I think it's more of just not knowing what to look for. I mean, going back to kind of what I said earlier about the whole building the website, building the logos and things like that. People just don't know, and they're not part of a lot of communities that allow them to really be privy to a lot of information. I think networking is very, very important, because one of the things that I've learned, I've moved around, I lived in various places like the last 5 years, and just being around people and getting their different experiences. Hey, did you know this? Oh, I never heard about that before, right? And I think that's really the big gap in our community, is being able to get to those places, because financially, some people aren't able to get to those places. People put on events that may not be free for various reasons, not that it's ill-intended, but they're doing those things, and it's just a barrier to entry for our community sometimes. People have kids and they can't get babysitters, and it's just all the situations that are unique to individuals. But I would say exposure would be the gap that I would call out the most.
No, I completely agree with that. And to piggyback, I would just say also being willing, like I said earlier, like being willing to play your position. You know what I'm saying? Day one, networking with some tech professionals, especially one that looks and acts like you. You're not gonna know everything on day one. So being able to play that position and say, hey, you know what? I can fall in behind this person, learn, and one day I'll get to where they are.
Awesome. So we have time for 2 audience questions. If you have a question, I will bring you a microphone.
Here you go.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Shika, and I have a couple of questions. So I guess my first question would be, because the name of the podcast is Code Switch, did you go into the corporate environment knowing you had to code switch, or did you have a moment where you were like, uh-oh, that should have been a moment to code switch, and you had to learn very quickly to pivot? So how did that happen for y'all?
I'll comment on that first. So I'll give you guys a little bit of context on my background. So prior to me getting into management and kind of what I'm doing today, I was actually working in Fort Walton as a contractor on Eglin. So just to be transparent with you guys, I was the only black professional in that office. And it was a situation where I had to learn to code switch, I think on my first day, and I'm like in my early 20s, I'm like 24 at this time, and we're just going on a walk, and I just made like this offhand comment about being young and them being older than me, and like they took offense to that. And in that moment, I was just like, oh man, I gotta be more careful, And then also too, like, I ended up getting into like some political debates, and I learned over time, I was like, oh, okay, I need to learn how to navigate those spaces a little better, right? I mean, within reason, because for me personally, I'm like, hey, you talk too much about my people, I don't care. The corporate goes out the window, So within reason, I think it's important to know how to navigate those spaces. But for me, it was something I had to pick up over time. And another kind of interesting observation I've had, I don't know if you can relate to that, Hollywood, but it's one thing that I like about remote work a little bit more is I don't have to sit in those physical spaces and listen to them make those types of comments. Instead, I'm just on a virtual call. Let's talk business. When we're done, I'm out. So that's my observation.
Yeah, no, I didn't go into it knowing I had to. And again, me and Trev worked at probably my second job as his first. We were fairly reckless. I'm not even gonna hold y'all, right? Like we wouldn't do it again. But the first time I realized I had to code switch is when I became a manager, and the company, we had just got bought out, and we were switching from a crew PTO policy to unlimited PTO policy, and my directs at the time, they were complaining, and whatever, like this doesn't mean anything to me. And so we all get on the call, and they're adamant. They're like, hey, I mean, we need to tell them, like, we don't want unlimited PTO, like we want to have a crew PTO, because if we quit, we want to get paid out and all this other stuff. And it's like, we're gonna lose our crew stuff, and they're gonna make this change by like the end of the month, and if they make the change by the end of the month, we lose all our crew time. And I'm really just not understanding what the complaint is, right? So I was like, well, just quit. Well, it got so quiet on that call, y'all. And I was like, ooh, I think I said the wrong thing. And so guy got back on the call. He said, I mean, if my manager telling me to quit, I'll go quit. And I'm like, and I really didn't care if he quit. He was one person I really didn't care if he quit. But I was just like, okay, I'll probably get in trouble for this, right? So then I was like, all right, you know what, my bad, y'all. Like, hey, I apologize. I don't really know if there's anything we can do. It was like, I'll send out an email to to my manager and see what they say, right? I never sent that email. I'm not dumb. But that was the first time I realized, oh, right, I can't just show up as myself, right, and expect people to follow. You kind of got to meet people where they are, even though they're being absolutely ridiculous, asking for the corporation to change because a few people on the team want to change. So that was my first experience into it.
Is there a second question?
Hello, everyone. So my name is Calvo. One, I just want to just pause and just say I'm very proud of you all and what you all doing and being mentors and a face for Black people in tech. So my question is, I wrote it down. So as me being someone who is not in tech, I'm a filmmaker and an educator in Escambia County who works with upcoming high school students who are getting ready to graduate. And, you know, they're really in a point where they're trying to figure out what they want to do in life, right? So for someone who is in tech, we know that tech is a lot more than just computers and coding, right? So someone trying to, you know, explain to younger people or and even people in the room, what would be like the simplest form to really explain tech?
Anything that runs on electricity. Um, the simplest one, I don't know if you can really simplify it. It's so diverse. There's so many components to it, right?
So broad.
I mean, you talk about like cybersecurity. I think like maybe a decade ago, cybersecurity wasn't even as big as it was now. But then now you find out, you know, a cyber attack can bring down websites, can bring down functionality at companies, right? Like Amazon. I don't think it was a cyber attack. Actually, just it was some random thing. So I won't get into that. But you know, like one of the companies I work for, there was a ransomware attack for automobiles, and so basically these dealerships couldn't sell vehicles for like a week or two, or they had to do it by hand. So I don't know if you can really just break it down into like a very, very simple form, right? I just think that tech is, if you treat it as, I mean, it's almost part of everyday life, right? Just another tool. Just it's kind of so ingrained in everyday life that I don't even think that you can kind of separate it from, well, this is what life was before tech and this is what it is now, right? It's just, even with us growing up, we're like, I mean, we had cassette tapes and stuff like that. We had like very basic technology, but we still had like technology. And I'm aging myself, I guess. I don't know how many people know about cassettes, don't think of it. But but stuff like that. So I don't know. That's a very tough question to answer.
Yeah, I don't know if I could break it down to a super simple like definition. What I will say is what worked for me and like gave that sparkle in my eye was getting my hands on it. So I'll never forget my freshman year of college. I took my first coding course, and like the first program I wrote, I was like geeked because I got it to work. You know, so I think for people that are younger, if the desire is to try to show them that this is a potential track they could take, I believe in getting their hands on it. And I think there are ways that you can do that, right? Whether it's doing like website design or development, HTML, CSS, things like that, that aren't as complex as some things that maybe we deal with. And then also too, like we said earlier, like AI is your friend, you know. Yes, there can be, it's not always beneficial, but I think in this scenario, you can use it to try to help get people's hands on technology, right? I came, you know, when I was a freshman in college, that was, 2011, so obviously the landscape has changed quite a bit, so by no means am I saying that what gave me a sparkle would give those kids a sparkle, but I think maybe using some of the newer technologies, using AI as a tool, like you guys said, not letting it take over, but using it as a tool and helping those kids to get their hands on something technical, I think that will give, not all of them certainly, but maybe at least one of them that sparkle.
Awesome. We have one more question.
So, you know how there's like introverts and extroverts, and the extrovert has to like adopt an introvert. I think it's the same with techies and non-techies, where the techies kind of have to adopt the friends who are kind of left behind. So if you are that, you fall into that category as like you're not tech savvy, what are some good things to kind of get into or to integrate into your everyday life to kind of make you more technology or tech savvy?
So that's a really good question. Have you ever thought about things that, what would I like to have that can make my life easier? And I think if you start asking that question, throw it into Chat GPT or Gemini or some AI tool, and let it share some resources for you. So I'll give you an example. I have this goal in life, for whatever reason, to have a fully automated smart home at my house. And but I don't want to use like Alexa. I don't want to use Google Home or anything like that. I want to do it myself. I wanted to know my routine where when I show up to my house, the garage door automatically opens, lights come on, everything like that. It talks to me. Actually, I want it all. I want to be like Tony Stark in my house. So it's like, okay, I have that goal. How can I achieve that goal in my free time? And so go put that in ChatGPT, and they have like tools like Home Assistant and stuff like that where you can actually learn bits and pieces of coding to help solve these solutions. And then what naturally happens, at least what I found, is that you start solving one problem, right? And like Trevor's talking about the spark, you start solving one problem. It's like, oh, well, I can do that. Now I can do the next thing. Then I can do the next thing, and it starts building and building and building on top of each other. And so tech is fairly accessible these days. Like you can actually go in and actually achieve exactly what I'm talking about. People who are like not tech savvy at all, like they're updating YAML files. That's basically, it's like a text file that's highlighting assets or entities in your house, like the lights, the garage, all this stuff, and you just start doing it piece by piece by piece. And I think the best advice we've learned in the space is that we make big problems small, and we solve the small problem first, and then eventually you solve the bigger problem. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that because that was such a good explanation. The one thing that I will say is time what you just said, back to what you said earlier, Hollywood, which is by solving those small problems, taking problems that would make your life easier, you like organically build a portfolio. And that's what you were talking about earlier about getting your foot in the door, if that's something you would want to do. Just by solving those everyday tasks, breaking down those problems, figuring out a way to build out your own solution, not because you have to, but just because you want to become more tech savvy, and before you know it, you will find yourself being way more knowledgeable than you think you ever could have been.
Awesome. So that concludes this part of the podcast. Let's give everyone a round of applause. Most of you have followed them on social media at codeswitch.podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. But what can you do to give back? You can share with your friends. You can share this experience. You can tell your friends to follow their podcast, listen to their podcast. They're going to do some more upcoming episodes. Got season 2 coming up. How can they support you, DJ Hale?
Well, as I just told y'all, I walked away from a job not too long ago. But I already own a business. So obviously, one of my businesses is actually DJ Hale, right, with Life is Hale. So you can book me for anything, literally anything. You could buy mixes from me. But also, my day-to-day, what I am really launching off is Soul Step Solutions. I do consulting work, but also I do vent sessions. If you are a professional who needs a space with someone to talk back and forth to, you could do a subscription with me. We can meet face to face, get it off your chest. If you want feedback, I'll give you feedback. If you don't have to have it. It's like me having a best friend in your pocket, because I also do a Soul Step journal with you. That's a shared little journal or note that I give feedback to you daily if you need it until we meet again. So please reach out if you are interested in that. I am literally a clinical social worker, so if you are like, this might be too much and I need a step ahead, I also will help connect you with someone else who can do clinical work with you too.
Tell those who will be watching this episode later how they can follow you on social media.
Yes, you can follow me on social media at DJ Hale on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, actually. And then also you can follow Soul Step Solutions, all the S's, on Instagram and also on Facebook. Visit the website lifeishale.com or soulstepsolutions.com to get in contact with me. Yeah.
Awesome. So feel free to nibble on some food, to take some more sips, and DJ Hale is about to get back on the 1 and 2s. So, kick those shoes off and get, your groove on. All right, everybody?
Are we gonna do a door prize?
Yeah. So yeah, we also have some more prizes. So
Are we gonna play a game?
Battle of the Vibes. So
Do y'all
yeah, we
want to
can
play
definitely.
the game? We are gonna play the
We
game.
can see what's popping.
Hey, we turning y'all over to DJ Hale.
Yeah, at this point,
we planned the event all the way up to this moment. and after this moment, hey, it's on her. But
yeah, get some drinks, get some food, turn up.
I do want to say though, hey, shout out Q. Q was our first guest on our podcast.
Yes.
So appreciate it. Again, thank you all for coming. As the great poet, the greatest rapper of all time said, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. Y'all have a good one.
Thank y'all.
I've seen the powerful fall when the people work together as one. I need you to live or let die. Hold your head high. I'm by your side till it's one. Together we can hold